Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy.
You know, two of our listeners, Justin and Jesse,
Okay.
Are
they good listeners?
They're great listeners. They're two of my favorites.
Really?
Yes.
Have they left a positive review?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, excellent. I love them.
I'm related to them, but that doesn't matter. So I was at a party last weekend, and
Okay.
Their comment was, you should really call me your co-host, not like your guest.
I've never said guest.
In the beginning you were definitely weird about it.
Weird how?
Yeah, it's just like, well, this week I'm joined by Cindy. Like, you're never going to be joined by me?
I was hoping I'd maybe get somebody more famous.
Yeah, me too.
So, my co-host,
Thank you.
Cindy,
Yes.
We're going to be talking about wasps and hornets this week.
Very nice.
We also spoke to Stuart from Taro, and he has some real nice tips for wasp control.
So we're going to talk about the difference between bees, wasps, hornets, yellow jackets.
Okay.
And bees really get the bad rap here because everything is just called a bee. And they're not the bad guys.
Sure. A lot of people group them together.
In fact, they're very important to the environment.
Yeah, very important for our crops. Mm-hmm. And we're struggling with keeping a lot of hives active and healthy. So it's important that we're not going after bees with any type of traps or sprays.
So the bees are going to be just focusing on flowers. That's what they...
Yes. They're just eating pollen and nectar.
Right. They're not hanging out by garbage cans or anything like that.
Whereas wasps, they love sweets. And so, you're drinking a soda at a party, and they can be... In fact, a tip you should be looking at in a summer party, especially late summer, you should be looking at your drinks before you drink because they'll fly right in and eat from that.
So we have a family picnic coming up. Okay. It's always the first Sunday in August every year. We never have a problem with bees. We started doing a party on my grandmother's side of the family, and that was in late September.
Okay.
And holy Toledo, the bees were terrible.
Really?
Our parents would actually have to go walk garbage to the garbage cans because they would just be surrounded by wasps.
Okay. See?
Yeah,
that's what people do.
Yeah. So just in a matter of a month, because later in spring and early fall is when they get really aggressive.
Sure. And bees in general are not very aggressive. You have paper wasps, which is a very especially in the U.S., paper wasps are more aggressive than bees. And then a step up, you have hornets, which are very aggressive. And then the most aggressive of all the stinging insects are yellow jackets. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're really trying to control, especially around our home, if you have children or pets, because any type of ground vibration, yellow jackets in general, they have their hives in the ground, and they'll have it in other places, but in general, they usually have a hole in the ground about the size of a quarter, and they can have very large hives, but any type of ground vibration can trigger an attack. So if you're working on your yard or you're having a party, mowing can really trigger this. So that's why you really want to control a lot of these wasps and hornets, especially in your own yard.
Well, my friend had, walking up to her sidewalk, going into her house, she had this huge yellow jacket hive underneath the ground.
Okay.
So, and I came into the store and I'm like, hey, looked in all the trees, on her roof, everything. There's no, nest anywhere. And that's when you explained about it being underground. And it was just like, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, and most people, they're used to seeing the small paper nests, and, you see them under your awnings and soffit fascia, and, it's what people get used to.
Well, she had 3 small dogs, too, and, they let them outside in the front yard, and, just worried about them getting stung.
Sure.
So, and them digging up something, too.
Right.
They weren't supposed to. So what's the main difference between a bee, wasp, hornet, yellow jacket?
So when you're looking at them, it's pretty easy to differentiate between the bees, wasps, and hornets. The bees
Unless you're scared of them.
Yeah, and you're running. Close your eyes and run. The bees are very fuzzy and furry looking, like especially the front part of the body, just behind the head, looks very hairy. And then their hind legs are real thick. You sometimes see the little pouch they have on their back legs where they collect pollen. And hornets and wasps, for the most part, look very lean in profile compared to a bee, and they don't have that hairy look. So that's probably the easiest way to tell the difference. It's interesting, when a bee stings you, it dies.
Yes, that's because it's got a barbed stinger, and it stays in your skin, and it rips out part of its abdomen.
Yeah, what a crazy design.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
Yeah, for the bee. And then hornets and wasps, they can sting you multiple times.
Right.
Yellow jackets, not only do they sting you, but they bite.
That's not nice.
What's interesting is I found that the giant Asian hornet can be over 2 inches long, and it releases so much venom that it kills 30 or 40 people a year in Japan.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, amazing. They say that the sting itself feels like a red-hot nail has been driven into your skin. The smallest insect in the world is a parasitic wasp, and it's actually smaller than the eye of a fly.
Wow, that's kind of tiny.
Yeah, they say it's really bad at flying.
Yeah, I bet.
It doesn't really. It almost has like little hairs for wings, but their scientists are trying to breed these. They're so small that they're trying to breed them and turn them into parasitic control. So they want to unleash these into insects that damage crops. And so what they think they can do is they can breed these to lay eggs and release these eggs to kill whatever the host is. So it's kind of interesting, the research they're doing. And there's a lot of parasitic wasps. Whereas hornets lay their eggs in their nest, most wasps find a host like a caterpillar or a slug or some insect, and they'll inject the egg into the body, kill it, and then as that egg turns into a larva, it eats the host.
Wow, that's super gross.
Yeah, so just very interesting what's going on in the insect world.
Where do they keep their nests, and what do they look like?
So most of the wasps and hornets, they create these paper nests.
Right.
Rather than bees that create a wax from nectar and pollen, what the wasps and hornets do is they chew up wood and wood pulp, and they mix it with saliva, and that's how they create their nest.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But most of them decompose once a year, so they're always creating new ones. Yellow jackets, on the other hand, most of them are making underground nests, and some of them get so large that they're perennial colonies. So rather than just allowing that nest to decay and create a new one, they found a couple nests in Florida. One was 9 feet tall.
Wow.
This is underground, and they just kept adding and adding and adding to this. And another one was 6 feet tall and 8 foot wide and weighed 200 pounds. Which is mind-blowing. And they said they estimated there were probably around 25,000 yellow jackets in this nest. But they're usually looking for some type of shelter, so in trees or eaves, in a hollow wall. In fact, when I bought this last house, it was like a 30-year-old house, and the previous owners just let it go. There was holes in the attic, and birds would fly in and out.
Yeah.
And then in the downstairs, it was like a split level, so that one of the downstairs bedrooms, the whole outside of the siding, it was wood siding, was rotted away in one area. And so we saw all these wasps in the house, and we just couldn't find where they were coming. And then we started doing some drywall work. We removed the drywall, and it had to be the size of a football inside the wall, and it was insane. So we had to shut the door, keep it shut, and then we actually bought a couple of these foggers just to knock them down, and then we had to get in there with a spray. We opened the door, we sprayed it like crazy, and then slammed the door shut. We had rags underneath the bottom of the door, but it was amazing how big this nest was. But luckily we were able to get it.
But some nests could be really small, though, right?
Some are very small, yeah, only a few cells. So let's talk about what you do if you get stung by a wasp or a hornet.
Have you ever been stung?
Well, when I was a kid, I was in grade school, and they had a glass bottle. That's back when all soda came in glass bottles. And then the soda, attracted probably all these wasps. So we were all playing out in the playground, and I stood around. A bunch of the boys were whipping stones at this half-buried bottle in the dirt. And so one kid hit it, it smashed it, and these wasps went crazy, and they just started stinging all of us, and it was just insane. I mean, we got down to so 5 minutes later, there was a line of us at the nurse's office, all crying and complaining. So there had to be 15 or more kids that were lined up. So yes, I've been stung by wasps. But if you do get stung, you want to wash the wound with soap and water.
I've been stung too. Thanks for asking.
And how'd that go?
Yeah, it was behind my ear. I was playing at the park. It was terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, I was young.
Yeah,
it was bad.
That had to be painful.
Yeah.
A sensitive place.
My mom's like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What did I do?"
What was done to me?
Yeah.
So if you get stung, you want to wash the wound with soap and water to try to remove as much venom as you can, as quickly as you can, and then immediately apply some type of cold pack or just run it under cold water if it's on your hand. And then they say that you can use a meat tenderizer and water mixed together, and that helps relieve the pain. And then you can take any type of pain reliever or an antihistamine to reduce the swelling. They also recommend applying calamine lotion to it. And then if you start getting swelling anywhere else on your body away from the sting itself, you probably are having an allergic reaction, and you want to get to a doctor's office as soon as possible. So to control wasps and hornets, there's a couple different methods. One is just trapping.
Right.
You can get Rescue, actually. The company Rescue makes a couple really nice traps. One is disposable. It's a bag that has a plastic top that allows you to hang it. You pull this top up, you pour some water into the bag, it activates this lure. It's a pheromone that attracts them. They say that they're not able to resist this odor.
Right.
So they're drawn into it, then they drown in the water. So you fill it halfway with water. It catches them. Once you fill this, you can leave it up for a month or two. Once it's full, you just throw it out.
Well, at the store, one of the big sales that I hit when I first started working there was the Park District was for their travel soccer teams.
Okay.
They had terrible problems in late summer, early fall with the wasps. So I sold them a bunch of these. They buy hundreds every year.
Yeah, it's amazing how simple and effective they are. It also prevents them from, especially if you're putting this in the yard or the back of the yard, it prevents, if you can catch the adults before they make their nest, it really helps limit the amount of wasps in your yard.
And it's easy too. You just throw it out then.
Yeah, simple. They have Rescue, the same company, makes a reusable yellow jacket trap. And I think it's specifically designed for yellow jackets, the lure that they put inside of it. But it has an attractant which lasts for weeks, and I think it's actually a 10-week attractant that you put into it, and then you keep changing it. This, though, opens up. You can pour out the dead wasps, put a new attractant in it, close it off, and then you can use this season after season. So if
it's
you don't,
made like of a plastic. It's not like a bag.
It's like a plastic tube.
Right.
You put an attractant in it. They go in. Once they go in one direction, they can't come back out. So you're able to use this over and over, year after year, if you don't mind, getting that close. So you'd probably want to have gloves on as you open this, just in case, they're not all dead. But very easy way to trap the wasps and hornets in your neighborhood. The yellow jacket trap, the one that's reusable, it is primarily designed for yellow jackets. The disposable trap, they say, catches and attracts a large variety. Now, if you just want to spray the nest and just kill wasps and hornets, there's a lot of different insecticides that you can buy. Taro, and we're going to talk to Stu in a little bit here, their company makes a really nice foaming wasp and hornet spray. It goes 20 feet. What's interesting about the foam is it shoots out in a liquid, and then when it hits a surface, it foams up. So it's very easy to see where you're spraying. What's nice about the foam is it hangs on to the nest or anywhere where you're spraying it. So it does a couple things. One, that foam, it triggers kind of a response from the wasps and hornets, so they fight their way through it, which coats them and it kills them. And then also it leaves this residual hanging on the nest, so not only does it kill the wasps that you see, but any that return to the nest. And all of these sprays you would want to use at sunset or sunrise. Wasps are the least active at that time. Most of them are back in the nest. Most of them go back to the nest by sunset. So that's really the time you want to use it. And I guess we should go over a couple of tips. So all of these sprays, you would want to wear rubber gloves and goggles. You wouldn't want to stand underneath the nest. Depending on the chemical, it knocks them down very quickly. So these wasps and hornets are going to be falling straight out of the nest. So you'd want to stand back a little bit. You'd always want to spray this when the wind is at your back, because you don't want this chemical spraying on your clothes or your body. And you want to soak the nest. You really want to saturate it. Then you wait 24 hours before you would want to pull it down. So give it time to work, to kill the larvae and all the live wasps or hornets. If you get any on your hands or your clothing, make sure you wash it with soap and water right away. Most of these chemicals also, you don't want to get on the siding of your house. It can stain it and darken the siding.
Right.
One wasp and hornet killer that's pretty popular, it actually has a spray that reaches 27 feet, is Spectracide. They have a wasp and hornet spray, and you can pick these up anywhere for $2 to $4. So beside Taro and Spectracide, probably the other two highest rated wasp and hornet killers are Raid and CRC, and you can pick those up at most retail stores. If you're looking for a safer wasp and hornet killer, there's a couple companies. One is EcoSmart. Their wasp and hornet killer, they use a peanut oil infused with alcohol. So as you spray the wasp and the nest, it coats them, and it doesn't allow oxygen to pass into their body, so they die that way. You have to be careful not to stand underneath the nest because it doesn't knock them down and kill them immediately. So it's kind of a slow kill. And then the company Safer, they have a wasp and hornet killer that uses all natural pyrethrins. So that's that chemical made from the chrysanthemum flower. It looks like a daisy, and that will kill the wasps and hornets. It breaks down naturally into the environment, and it also makes the nest uninhabitable. Again, you have to be careful because it doesn't kill them immediately. So you're going to spray them, soak the nest, and get out of there because they're probably going to trigger their attack.
Oh, what kind of prices are we looking at?
So with these, you're probably looking at a little more. They probably run in the $5 to $7 range, whereas most of the other chemicals are probably $2 to $4.
So if you'd like to create your own wasp trap, I got a couple ideas.
Okay.
So if you take like a canning jar,
All right.
and you punch a hole in the top of it in the lid,
Okay.
about the size of your pinky, the base of your pinky. You want them to be able to crawl in, but not to easily be able to fly out.
Okay.
You fill it halfway with orange juice.
Oh, really? Orange juice. All right.
If you, on the lid itself, underneath it, if you smear jelly or jam underneath it, so
Oh,
like
that's funny.
strawberry or raspberry jam underneath the lid.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
They go crazy for that, and then they drown.
Interesting. I've seen guys take like 2-liter bottles, they'll cut off the top third, and then they'll flip that over. So the top with the cap, they'll take the cap off, they'll flip it upside down into the body of it,
Right.
and then tape that off, pour some soda in there halfway. The wasps and hornets fly down into it, and it creates like a funnel, and then they get stuck in there. They work around the outside of it. They don't find their way back up through the middle. So they'll hang that, or they'll just set that on a picnic table.
Nice.
I've seen guys. So kind of an inexpensive way to trap wasps and hornets if you don't want to spend money for a real trap. So those are some good tips. We had a nice interview with Stu from Taro, and we'll hear his tips.
Stuart, how you doing?
Doing great, JC. How you doing?
Good. Cindy and I were curious if you could share some tips for homeowners for wasp and hornet control, and then also maybe let us know the difference between using a foam hornet killer and then the liquid version.
Okay, yeah, sure. The biggest tip, I guess, that I can give people is, first of all, which bug is attacking you. So when we're talking about wasp and hornets, there's three main species that are really annoying. There's paper wasps, and these are the kind that will form the little paper underneath the eaves around boat docks and in the back porch. Maybe underneath the eaves you'll see a little gathering of small paper wasps, and the nests don't get too big, and they're kind of annoying. So those might get you. The other couple that you find is the bald-faced hornet. They're more of a white and black hornet. They move a little bit quicker, and they tend to attack in groups a little bit more. They can be a little bit more of a problem. And then the final one would be what we call in the Midwest yellow jackets. Those are primarily ground nesting. Okay, so you see this insect flying around. First of all, let's identify which one it is. Let's start with yellow jackets. Okay, so they tend to go after sweet food. You set down your Coke or something, they come after it, they sting. There tends to be a lot of them. They're really, really a pain. The biggest thing you can do when you see yellow jackets is before you pull out the can and start spraying them, try to follow them back and see if you can locate the colony.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so in the afternoon, they're just like people. They go out in the midday, they come back in the evening into the colony. So you try to follow them heading back in, look around your yard, realize that they're going to be going underground somewhere. Sometimes it can be a real pain to find them, but if you can follow them, you can locate a small hole about the size of a quarter in the ground, and that's where the nest is, hidden under there. And there can be thousands of them under there. So yellow jackets, let's try to find that ground nest, that nest that's buried underground, and treat it. If it's a paper wasp, let's go to paper wasp. Now, you can usually just see them sitting up in the corner early in the year. They get caught in the windows. So you can find those nests pretty easily. And those you can knock down with a Wasp and Hornet spray.
Okay.
And then the third one, those bald-faced hornets, same thing. They're going to be up in a tree, and trying to locate that nest up in that tree is critical if you're going to get any control. All right, so you figured out which one it is. Let's say you've located the nest. Obviously, with a bald-faced hornet net, you may need help. You might have to call the local police department, fire department to reach up there and knock that thing down. And you're going to, of course, be waiting until the end of the day. By the end of the day, that's when the bees, wasps, hornets all come back to the nest. When we were out sampling products, what we used to do is actually take the landing rate over a couple of days, kind of like an airport. So you get there, around sunset, and you just start counting how many of these bees are landing here per minute.
Okay.
And it does give you a general idea how big this thing is. Okay, but definitely wait until a lot of them have returned to the nest. And let's go after the yellow jacket. You found the hole. It's about 7:30 because it's usually the light stays a little bit later. You go in. You've got 2 cans of Wasp and Hornet spray. Either the foam or the liquid will work on these. In this case, because you're just going to be spraying it straight underground. You want to have a backup can in case the first one fails.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And so you always have 2 with you. And usually for a yellow jacket, you just unload the whole can underneath, down in there.
Interesting. And that will penetrate into the ground and kill them?
Yeah, that should get them down in there. You cover it up, leave that hole open the first day, and then walk away. Come back the next day and check the landing rate again. See what's happening. I remember there'll be a few of them that return to the nest and can't get in or don't understand or get confused. So once you treat that yellow jacket nest underground, then come back for the next couple of days, see until it appears that it's completely dead or almost dead, and then you want to go ahead and dig it up. Because there can be some larvae that will continue to work and continue to hatch, but you definitely want to go in there and dig it out and remove it.
Interesting. And how deep will this be?
It could be a foot underground, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they build longer channels, though, so you'll have to kind of follow the channel back and then go underground. Now, of course, occasionally they do get inside your house and get behind the eaves of your house or get up in the attic and become quite large. I mean, in that case, again, you're going to call a pest control operator to come in, a professional come in and deal with it. What you don't want to do is when you see them coming out of a hole in the side of your house, plug up the hole, okay? Because they're just going to come piling inside your house then.
Yeah, very smart.
Yeah, so yellow jackets, mostly ground nesting, sometimes behind walls. If you see them behind a wall, call in a pro. Okay. Always 2 cans of Wasp and Hornet spray. And if you're going after paper wasps, you can just hit it with that spray. Be careful, there won't be that many there, and then knock it down with a broom a little bit later. And then on a bald-faced hornet nest, if you can get up to it, you could, and surround it with a plastic bag after it gets really dark. That's fine, but usually they're up so high, you really need some help. And usually the local fire department gets calls all the time on those, and they'll help you out. Most of Wasp and Hornet sprays, when we used to make them, we had a product that we sold for years to professionals who climbed up electrical poles. And, they open up the panels up there, and when you got Wasp and Hornets there, it's really a dangerous situation. We sold products called Wasp Freeze, and these were really high delivery rate aerosol products to knock a pest down quickly. Those same products you can buy over the counter now, and some of them have converted to a foam. And the idea there is you hit the aerosol comes out as a liquid. It's able to spray at least 10 feet reasonably, and then when it hits the surface of the nest, it foams up. It just helps to keep it on the nest rather than have it drip straight off.
Okay.
And then also the wasp has to kind of dig through that foam, and it'll pick up some of the active ingredients. So the idea of these foam sprays, definitely, it's a good idea for sure.
So you would prefer a foam to a liquid spray?
Yeah, I like the foams that really, really can cover the whole nest.
Okay.
And give it a chance to work. I think those are the best ones.
And your product, how far does that spray if a customer was using it?
It goes anywhere from 10 to 12 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty long distance, too. So, of course, that's in a situation you got to watch the wind. Always have at least 2 cans with you. Practice a little bit before you take your first shot, because in this game, sometimes you don't get a second shot.
Right.
Yeah, when they start coming after you, you're like, I'm out of here. Yeah,
and always wear gym shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Always have an escape path, I guess you would say.
It's actually smart to think of that. Sure.
Sure, and always in the evenings.
Okay.
Always do your stinging insects in the evening.
Right. Very good. Stuart, if we wanted to find out more about your products, where would we go?
You can go to Taro.com and see the entire line of products for ants and everything else. And we're constantly coming out with new stuff and trying to find safe things that people can use around the house to get rid of the bugs that create problems.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate your time.
All right, JC, good to talk to you.
All right. Thank you, Stuart.
Okay, call anytime.
Okay. Bye.
Well, that was a great interview.
I enjoyed talking to Stu. He's very knowledgeable. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher.
If you enjoyed it, please leave a review.
Tell a friend. And if you'd like to see any of our home improvement videos, you can go to YouTube and look up our channel. It's Fix It Home Improvement Channel.
You can subscribe to that as well. If
you have any questions for us, you can contact us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week. Tap into